Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exhausting episode of Phil on the Mic. I, as always, am Darrin Michael, and with me, the man who actually was the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns last night, since they didn't have any left, Mr. Phil Calise. Phil, how are you, my friend, man? You feeling okay?
What's going on? Happy to be here. Yeah, I'm a little banged up, got a bunch of carries in there last night. They call me Darrin Calise. So, mix it in back here for a podcast the next day.
I know, man. I'll tell you, man, I literally, I think you should write a book of all your experiences because it's just second to none. It's unbelievable.
It really is. It really is. You've had me at such high honors as I believe counting ballots for presidential elections. I think tossing the coin at the Super Bowl, maybe. I mean, I've been everywhere. I really have been everywhere.
It's impressive.
It is. And then I'm always back for my day job, which pays me nothing here at the podcast.
No, it happens. The reason that I said this was an exhausting episode is because I felt like I needed to kind of clear my head a little bit. So I went and I played basketball for 90 minutes.
No, so you're tired, but you're mentally strong, physically.
You can probably see. I think my face is probably a little flushed still.
Got it. All right, that's good.
I don't know.
You've been active in your old age. I like it.
It's been fun.
You seem healthier, and I'm so unhealthy these days. I've been eating so poorly. I've been stressed with my real day job, and I've been just eating terribly. And I usually do a good job of eating well after the summer. The summer's usually bad for me because of sports and running around and whatever. And then I usually try to get on a good 6-8 weeks before the holiday rush where everybody eats bad, or at least I definitely eat bad. And then I try to reset, after that debacle in the new year.
Sure.
But I'm just powering right through the summer debacle with the fall debacle. And then pretty soon it's the holiday debacle. And I'm just going to be a debacle. I'm just going to be 15 pounds heavier. I'm going to be Phil the Debacle Calise. So we
can change the name to Debacle on the Mic.
Debacle on the Mic. Yeah, it's going to be bad. So
if that's how we need to refer to you. So instead of fill up your bank account, should we say debacle up your bank account? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. You may not recognize Phil in the mic. We may have to change the name because I'm unrecognizable. So I keep up this rate, so.
But we'll see. Did I tell you that we won our basketball game on Tuesday?
No, I didn't know that.
We officially are the number 2 seed. We made the playoffs. We're the number 2 seed.
Nice.
And we really shut them down in the second half. We only allowed 14 points in the second half. It was really a slugfest, but it felt good because they beat us the last game of the season last year, and they beat us in the playoffs. So this was a little payback, and it felt good,
Give a little golf clap. Nice. And
I did score a couple baskets.
Our viewers are always anxiously on the edge of their seats to hear about your basketball league.
Let me tell you something. I've been getting emails all week long asking me to talk about it. And so I responded to the emails and I said, Mom, I will get to it. I promise.
Darrin. I don't know how your mom sounds, by the way. And so apologies to your mom. I don't know what her voice is.
She's on her way here.
Nice.
Actually. So they're going to spend a couple of days with us, which will be nice, but we'll definitely have to get her. We'll get her on. We can, she can rant about the Orioles, which will be kind of fun because they're just not very good. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to go over. I got.
Let's do it.
We're just going to jump right into it. We're not even going to. Let's start by talking about fill up your bank account, man. I feel like you were able to redeem yourself last week. I feel like you've been doing so bad the last couple weeks. You got such that hot start that you came back. Tell us what happened last week that kind of made you refocus.
Let me peruse my notes, shall we?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Listen, I was 7-6-1. It wasn't like I was, jumping off the Titanic, but I had come back to earth, so to speak, after a couple of great weeks. My locks have been consistent, though. I've been hitting on my locks. And so what I was able to do was keep that trend going. So now I find myself 4-1 in locks. For those math majors out there, that's an 80% win rate. And after going 3-1 last week, I am back up to 10-7-1, nice. Which is a solid record. I mean, it's a good record. It's not a great record. I'd like to build upon that, but I think the NFL season it's been what, we're getting to that point, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of stuff about the NFL. I think we're getting to that point where you start to see the haves and have-nots, but always remembering that the league, with the salary caps and all the measures they've taken over the years, really wants everybody to be a game or two under or over 500. The league is kind of set up for a good chunk of the teams to be that, which is why you do see wildly inconsistent scores and games where you say, how did that horrible team then win? How did this really good team lose? It's because it's a parity league. It's not that different. So I'm sure we'll get into it, but it makes making picks tough. It's not easy to make picks. I mean, I see a lot of the so-called experts. You see their record at the bottom when they pick with spreads, and a lot of them are under 500. I mean, they're not particularly good at it. So
no, this season so far has been terrible.
You've won some money if you've just bet every game I've given you. You've made money. If you just bet my locks, you're 4 out of 5. I mean,
and the nice thing is last night's game that you called that one too, and the spread in last night's game was Browns by 3.5, and they won by 3, which I remember you and I talking about, and I said to you when we were making picks, I said, you know what, I don't think that the Browns are going to lose this game. I just need them to win by 3 points or less.
Well, you really landed on the game better than I did. My simple logical take was the Browns are missing too many people to take the Browns given 3.5. I mean, and I actually thought the Broncos should win the game. And by the way, they should win the game. I mean, no-name players beat them, and the score was low enough where Denver should have been able to win that game. I think what we're seeing also, and it's a funny trend, when you say, why does half the league always draft a quarterback? And why do quarterbacks that are seemingly not that high of they're not that high in terms of how they were viewed all season in college, and then you see them just rapidly come off the board every year? I think you see why. Because Teddy Bridgewater is a fine quarterback. Like, he's okay, but you're just going to be bleh with him. Sam Darnold's not complete garbage, in the right setting, he's okay, but he's like, bleh. He's like, he's like a gluten-free bun. You're not going to be excited about him. He doesn't excite you. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't excite you. They're inconsistent enough where you see why they've been on 3 and 4 teams, and Darnold was traded, and you just see that's why you're always searching for that quarterback, because there's really only 8 or 10 really good ones, and there's 8 or 10 bad ones, and then there's a bunch of blech in the middle. That's what the league is. So I'm sure that'll be a theme of what we talk about. Quarterback play.
Well, one of these days we will, but not today. Not today. But we've got our 5 questions for our expert Phil. All right. Number one. And let's just remind everybody, you have no idea what I'm going to be asking you. No idea what I'm going to be talking about.
This podcast more like a secret show.
It really is. It's. I know what's going on in the podcast, and you have no idea. But that's good because you're quick on your feet. Well, I mean, if you keep eating so much, you're not going to be as quick.
I'm going to get slower.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. So thought number 1, question number 1, Ravens 34, Chargers 6. Are the Ravens a good team? Should we take them seriously?
Sure. Yes. But I think that is the microcosm of the league, right? You get the Chargers and I was wrong. That was my loss, right? Was that my loss? Yeah. No, it wasn't last week. I didn't pick the game, but I was wrong on that game. I thought the Chargers would play a close game. I mean, the Ravens are a good team. They're a good team. They don't have a great defense. It's been bad all year. And they've been winning, pulling out games close, struggling in games they probably should win more easily. Lamar Jackson's doing a pretty good job, though, overall. He has made some mistakes, and he's going to be what he is. For everybody that wants to, he is what he is. He's a limited passer. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's dangerous as heck. And as far as the Ravens go is based on Lamar Jackson, because he can beat any team on any given week.
Yeah.
But if he has a bad game, they can lose to a lot of teams because they are limited and they don't have a great defense to fall back on this year. They're not going to win a game where he screws up a lot. They're not built that way this year. So, but yeah, the Ravens are good. They got a decent shot to make some hay, as they say.
I mean, it's interesting because I know at the beginning of the season we talked about the disparity between the AFC and the NFC. In the AFC, there's one team that has 5 wins, and that's the Ravens. In the NFC, there's 6, or no, there's 5. There's 5. There's 4 teams.
Yeah.
There's 4 teams that are 5-1, and then there's 1 team that's 6-0. And it's funny, like you said, everybody else is hovering at or below 500. So, you make a lot of sense. It's like everybody is pretty much 500 except for the better teams. And I think that we're going to see those teams get farther ahead of all the mediocre teams. Then, of course, you've got the bad teams.
And then you got the bad teams. And there's about 6 of them. They're bad, really bad.
Yeah, they're just no good. They're just no good. All right, question number two. Jamar Chase. If you remember Jamar Chase, he was the guy in preseason that said that he couldn't catch the ball because the ball looked different. It didn't have like the lines on it, so he couldn't see the ball really well. But sure enough, he just won his 3rd straight Pepsi Rookie of the Week. He's got 27 catches for 553 yards in 6 games, 20.5 yards a catch with 5 touchdowns. Is this guy running away with the Rookie of the Year honors this year?
It's usually hard unless you have staggering numbers to win it at wide receiver. I mean, I don't have the historical context, but I don't think receivers typically win the Rookie of the Year award, because there's always 4 or 5 quarterbacks drafted fairly high, they have the best chance to win it. They have the best chance to win every award with the way they dominate a game. I mean, at a snapshot in time, as I quickly think about the rookies, Mac Jones has had a decent year.
Decent.
Justin Fields has no shot. Zach Wilson still actually has a shot, only because, well, here's why. I picked him to win it, and it looks horrible at the moment. But he has a shot. Simply because if he puts up big numbers and gets comfortable in the system and plays well, there's no runaway winner, and a quarterback always has a chance. So, like, to me, for a rookie quarterback who's already probably got a 50% leg up on running backs and receivers, he needs to stay healthy, play 16 games, get hot for 4 or 5 games, put up some big numbers. He has a shot. Fields has no shot. Trey Lance isn't going to do it. Burrow, I would say – I'm not Burrow, I'm sorry. Trevor Lawrence. I would say right now Trevor Lawrence's numbers will warrant consideration, just where he's at right now. And I think at the end of the day, him, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and the receiver will be, at the top. The receiver probably is the favorite right now, but I don't know if that'll hold up.
Well, you know what? There's been a lot of mediocre play, and you and I both know how rare it is for a rookie quarterback to be really, really good. I mean, you rarely see that because it's such a huge transition. But yeah, listen, there's a lot of season left. 6 games into the season. I think Jamar Chase is right now the clear favorite as of today.
I would agree with that.
I think he's done the most.
The quarterbacks haven't done a ton. I would agree with that.
No, not yet. All right, question number 3. And this actually has 2 parts. So the Jaguars finally won their first game, and they beat the Dolphins in London 23-20. So here's the 2 questions. 1, should the Dolphins be really embarrassed by the loss? And how badly did Urban Meyer need that win with what's going on?
He did. I mean, winning does help solve some of the noise in the organization, I'm sure.
Yep.
It's a way worse loss for Miami than it is a good win for the Jaguars. Aside from Urban Meyer needing it, Miami Dolphins had some aspirations to be a pretty good team this year. They were a pretty good team last year. They're supposed to be building. They spent some valuable assets on offense to help Tua. They spent some money. They're supposed to be ascending in a bad division that only has the Bills in it. And then they lose that game. Not good for the Dolphins, but very good for Urban Meyer. I still think this is a one and done Urban Meyer year. I think.
I think we're all on the same page with that, and and granted, the Jags beat a very, very underperforming team, and with any luck, maybe they'll be able to play the Texans. So maybe they'll have 2 wins this year. Who knows?
And by the way, I don't know if Urban Meyer's going to go back to coaching after this debacle. And debacle is my word of the day. Clearly, it's the word that keeps popping into my head. But the LSU and the USC job are available. Those are 2 high-profile jobs that somebody like Urban Meyer could be tempted with. I don't know if he wants to go battle Alabama and Saban, but I mean, those are 2 big marquee programs. So if he needed his extra lifeline out, he could probably get one of those gigs and say, had to go back to my favorite thing to do is ruin programs in college and cheat.
It just doesn't work as well in the NFL. That's all
Just
that it
doesn't
shows.
work.
So question number 4, which defense makes you more nervous? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Kansas City Chiefs? And I'm going to throw out the stats so that you can kind of hear, okay? These are Kansas City's games, all right? And how many points they've allowed. They beat Cleveland and allowed 29. They lost to Baltimore, allowing 36. They lost to the Chargers, allowing 30. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles and allowed 30. They lost to the Buffalo Bills and gave up 38. And then finally, they decided to allow less than 30 points, and they beat the Washington football team, aka the Redskins, and the Redskins scored 13 points. All right, so that's them. Their defense has been pretty suspect, but Tampa Bay, for as good of a defense as they're supposed to have, I think has been in bad shape too. You've got 29 points to Dallas for a win. You've got 25 points to the great Falcons in a win, 34 points to the Rams in a loss, 17 points to the Patriots with a win, 17 points to the Dolphins with a win, and 22 points with the Eagles. So clearly, both of these defenses are not playing as well as they need to get back to the Super Bowl in my eyes. But which one of these defenses do you think is going to be able to turn it around and help their team? Because neither of these teams are just going to be able to outscore everybody. Their offenses are just not as potent this year as they were last year.
I really think, the stats aside in general, the Bucs have a much better defense. Yeah. They have much more talent on their defense. They have a better track record. The Chiefs have won a lot with just shootouts, and they haven't had a great defense. They've had some timely pass rushing, and they can take some shots because of Mahomes and what have you. But the Bucs actually won that Super Bowl on the back of their defense last year.
Yep.
And they didn't really lose anybody off that. I do think the Bucs are in a little bit of a hangover, but by the way, they're 5-1, right?
So they are.
It's just I never expected the Bucs to be this dominant juggernaut regular season team. They weren't last year. We talk about this all the time. I've been on this. They were like 10-6 or 11-5, whatever they were.
Yeah.
They weren't a juggernaut. They're not a juggernaut team, but they may win 12 games to 13 games this year at the rate they're going. So they're having a good year. I think they're fine. I think their defense is fine. The Chiefs are in actual trouble. There's a lot wrong with the Chiefs right now. I think the Bucs are fine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully the Chiefs can get it turned around because that offense is virtually unstoppable, but they're just losing. The only thing that they can take solace in right now is that their losses have been to good teams. So they're losing to good, but they got to start beating the good teams. They can't just beat the bad teams. You got to beat the good teams. All right. Number 5, the rumors of Deshaun Watson going to the Dolphins. The big question here is do you think that's truly going to happen? And what happens if that trade was even made? Would he even get on the field?
He probably wouldn't be able to go for at least 2 weeks, and they'd have to have a reduced playbook, I'm sure. Like for any team he would get traded to in season would have to go with a reduced playbook unless it was the exact offense he's been running in Houston. You would like to say where there's smoke, there's fire, and he's going to be traded, but it does seem like the Texans GM is holding out for a really bonanza worth of picks. Yeah. So he's not treating it like this looming court issue he's having is really much to worry about for teams. So I don't know if they know something like this is blowing over or if he's sticking it to Watson. Because he's making him, he's got to show up there. He's got to come there. He has no chance to play. And he's just being really, indignant to wanting 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and whatever.
Yeah.
The Dolphins make all the sense in the world. Deshaun Watson's from South Beach or in the Miami area.
It's true.
So, this is the team that's been salivating over him. Tua doesn't, I think, move the needle enough. I think they've seen enough of him to realize it's a big enough upgrade to do it.
Yeah.
But I do think the Dolphins are having a little bit of trouble with 3 firsts and all it's going to take to get him with the court issues, with the fact that he could still be suspended. And you may be doing this trade starting next year, just starting next year having him. But I do think in the end he will be traded. I'm not sure there's not a mystery team that could still step in and do something.
Yeah.
Because if the Dolphins just gave them what they wanted, they'd have them already. So they are hedging. They're not all in on just getting Deshaun Watson, clearly, or else he'd be there.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me though is and you can take kind of the Jets for an example. You draft a player overall really, really high, and then you get rid of them. It's just, I mean, that's a mistake that could cost you a lot. I mean, you could put you back years because the quarterback position is so intense. And I don't know if the Dolphins are ready to say goodbye to Tua, but not only that, when you think about Deshaun Watson, you got to think about everything else that's going to come with it. You got a lot of uncertainty as to what's going to happen in his future. But what about what that's going to do to the franchise? How's that franchise going to be looked at if they trade for this guy who is allegedly, this sexual harassment person, predator, whatever you want to call him? How's that going to look for fans, and how are they going to justify that? Oh yeah, you know what? Because he's a great player, we're going to ignore the fact that allegedly he fondled or did whatever to 22 different women. It seems like just the perception of that team, whoever that might be, is just it's not forgiving. It puts you in a bad spot.
So that's why it feels like he'll end up on Miami if he ends up anywhere this year, because that fan base has an affinity to him as being a high school star in that area. He probably has the most chance to have that noise be lessened by going home, so to speak, than anywhere else, where another fan base who doesn't care about Deshaun Watson in any way might have trouble selling it to at least some of their fan base, some of their women fan base. I mean, that would be a tougher thing. I think what's interesting, though, is Watson is a great quarterback. He's not great in my mind in terms of he's not top 5 great, but he's up there. But they did go 4-12 with him last year.
It's true.
And he had a great year on paper. And they did only win 4 games. So he's not, I know the Dolphins, I'm sure, think they have a more talented team and he could step in there and win more. But, he could have a great year and the Dolphins not win. I mean, he could do that. And I think this is a giveaway year anyway. The Dolphins are out of it.
Yeah, that's
At
true.
this point, they're almost completely out of it. By the time he'd even get traded there, it would be more for next year. So
yeah. No, it's true. It's true. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. So that is our summary of week 5. Now let's talk about who you're going to give your game ball to. All right, I've got 3 guys, and you tell me who you think deserves it. First one, Dak Prescott, 36 of 51, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception in a 35-29. I believe it was a come-from-behind victory over New England. I'm sorry. It was a pretty impressive performance there. Another guy who's just separating himself every week as the best running back, and it's not even close in football, Mr. Derrick Henry. 20 carries, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns in an impressive win over my Super Bowl team, the Buffalo Bills. And then number 3, and I had to put this guy in here, the Jaguars kicker, Matthew Wright, who I had never even heard of, right? With 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go, he kicks a 54-yard field goal to tie the game. And then with no time on the clock, he comes back and hits a 53-yard field goal to win the game. He ends up 3 for 3 field goals, 2 extra points, 11 points in the game, and is the hero for Jacksonville as they end their 20-game win streak. Loss streak, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the only 2 people giving Matthew Wright the game ball is his mom and dad. So we'll leave him out of the equation. It's a Dak Prescott. Ball. It's going to Dak. I saw the throw he made in overtime to win the game.
Yeah.
Fading back, perfect throw. Hit CD, my main man, CD Lamb, for a TD to win the game. Dak's had a really good year.
He's a good player.
He was the player of the week.
Yeah, and they're in a super easy division. They should run away with it as of now. They are running away with it. So we'll see what happens, and then we'll see what happens with the Cowboys, assuming that they make the playoffs. That's the big thing. That's the thing. The Cowboys get to the playoffs, but can they ever win a game? So we'll see. So congratulations, Dak Prescott, on winning Phil's game ball for the week. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show. Time to fill up your bank account, man. Woo. I am putting money on whatever your lock is, man. You're 80%. We're going to call you 80% Phil from now on. Okay, so don't blow this one.
Well, don't call me that. I hope it keeps going up. We got to keep changing that.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
So, all right. So we'll go around the league. 4 games again. Save the lock for last. Again, I don't feel good about these games. I got to say, I feel good about my lock. I don't, but I've done better when I haven't had as much confidence. So I'm hoping that trend continues.
That's true.
So the first game I'm going to go with. So the theme of this week, if you were given this week a theme, the theme of this week might be really gigantic spreads. Yeah, I mean, there's some almost college football-esque spreads this week. So I'm actually of the mindset that, and usually they'll say the adage is the big giant NFL spreads get covered, because that means there's such a disparity between the teams that you'd lay the points and kind of, I think the joke is close your eyes, bite your nails, and lay the points, because it's like they're going to cover. You just got to have faith that the Vegas is trying to talk you out of it. But I'm going to go the other way. I just think the spreads are too big. So there's a couple of games with big spreads, and I'm going to go the other way for different reasons. So the first one is I'm going to take the Texans plus 17.5 as per ESPN as we sit here. Against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are undefeated. They're 6-0. There is nothing not to like about the Arizona Cardinals. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All good. They just went to the East Coast and beat the Browns. They might have been a little banged up, but they still went there and beat them.
Yep.
They've had nothing but a banner year. Really, nothing but a banner year. But here's how I look at this game. They went to Cleveland and beat them up. They're 6-0, and they have the Packers next Monday night.
Yep.
I believe it's Monday night. So, or next Thursday night, I'm sorry. So they have a short week to get ready for the Packers. It's a perfect game for them to let their guard down a little.
Yep.
The Texans stink. They're going to win the game going away. They got the Packers on their mind. That's a giant showdown at home. At home against the Packers. So I'm going to just kind of go with the theory that they're kind of going to overlook the Texans a little. And let's face it, it is the NFL. It's not college. So if the Texans score 10 or 13 points, I mean, especially if they score a little bit early, that's a tough cover. That's just a tough cover. So I'm going to take them.
Okay.
Staying with the gigantic spread theme for a different reason. This is dicey. I'm going to take the Lions getting 16 at the Rams. And again, the Rams are a close second to the Cardinals thus far in that division, and that division's really good.
Yep.
And with the Rams, it's slightly a different reason. One, the Lions have oddly played a lot of teams close, but they're 0-6. But they have played some teams close. If you look at their scores, they lost close to the Colts. They lost I'm sorry, this is the Rams. I'm looking at the wrong team. They've lost close in 3 or 4 of their games. And they've gotten blown out in only really one game, I think, to the Bengals.
Yeah.
So the Rams also went east, just like the Cardinals. So they got a little bit of a weird week, go back home. And what do they also have followed up? They have the Texans and then the Titans. So they got a couple of games that they can win. The Jared Goff angle is interesting to me. He was traded, he was cast off. He knows this is a redemption type of game for him. He should play a good game in this spot. And the team tends to galvanize around the guy they know is, like that. They're 0-6. They don't have a lot to play for. So this is like the Jared Goff game. I think the team will play a good game for him, and they'll lose. But 16's a lot. So 16, 17.5 for the big spreads. Here's a game that's interesting. The Seahawks haven't won at home yet this year. They haven't won at home. The mighty 12th man and the Seahawks, I know they're not the team they used to be, but they actually haven't won a game at home this year. I got to believe that eventually stops, and I think it stops this week. It's not the greatest matchup. The Saints are a good team. I like the Saints more than other people do, but Jameis Winston can have some – he could throw a clunker in here or there. The Seahawks are desperate. This is desperate city. They haven't won a game at home, and it's still of a winnable game, but you get the Seahawks plus 4.5 at home.
That's right.
And so I like the Seahawks, and I almost made this my lock. The only reason I didn't is because Geno Smith's the quarterback. And obviously you wouldn't get 4.5 with Russell Wilson. You'd be probably favored, a couple points. But I'm going to take the Seahawks and figure it's going to be hard to beat them. Go start 0-3 at home. I don't think they're going to do that. And last but not least, my lock of the week. This one's interesting because you highlighted this team at the beginning of your 5 questions. Do I believe in the Ravens? Yes, I believe in the Ravens to an extent.
Okay.
Do I think a division rival like the Bengals, who could put up some points on a very average Raven defense, presents some challenges? I do. And 6.5 is just too many points to me. The Bengals are a pretty good team. Joe Burrow's playing well. And I think they're going to score on the Ravens. I think they're going to score a healthy amount on the Ravens. And so can Lamar Jackson win the game? Yeah, he probably will. They probably will beat the Bengals at home. But 6.5 seems like it's too much to me. Yeah. So, like I said, I was between the Seahawks and Bengals as my lock, but I went Bengals. So I got the Bengals as my lock. Weird to say that, like liking the Bengals. And by the way, this could be an utter disaster for me because I went with 3 out of 4 teams that are not good franchises. The Bengals, the Lions, the Texans. I'm doing it for different reasons. These are not picking good teams that should cover spreads. These are different reasons, but I'm taking a bunch of points, 4 games, all underdogs. Lots could go wrong here, but I feel like I have sound thoughts behind it. So we'll see how it goes. But,
man, listen, I love the reasoning. I love the audacity, man. You are not falling for what Vegas is giving you, man. You're like, I'm not jumping on that NFC West bandwagon. I don't think they're going to blow these guys out. Now, I'm going to have to agree with you, and I'm going to say that there's probably 0 chance that either the Cardinals or Rams lose.
Right.
But we're talking spreads. We're not talking.
Don't look at the money line, folks. Just take the points. Don't dare
exactly
go that
right.
far. I'm not crazy. I'm a little bit crazy. I'm not that crazy. We'll see what happens.
That is it. If you want to make money, everybody, there it is right there. And especially Phil's locks. Remember, he's 4-1 on his lock of the week. So I would probably, if I were you, instead of making your mortgage payment, I would probably take that payment and put it on the Bengals.
Those cheers you hear are coming from Cincinnati right now. All the fans going, yes, we are going to play close. Yes, I knew it. So
we do have a good team here in Cincinnati.
We do. They do have a pretty good team.
They're moving in the right direction, but I think we've been saying that for a long time. So anyway, exciting. Let's move on to a little college football. And
we haven't really done a lot of college.
We haven't done a lot, and I don't want to get into too many specifics. I noticed there was one big game last week. You had Purdue going into Iowa to play the number 2 Iowa, and I know you keep saying that you're a big believer that the Big Ten is overrated, and that Iowa as number 2 ranking is just, it doesn't make any sense. They're really not that good. Well, turns out an unranked Purdue team came in there and spanked them 24-7, which Phil was right.
That might be a sign you just kind of moved up the rankings because a bunch of people lost and they kind of were left with you there. But nobody thought Iowa was really the number 2 team in the country.
No. But here's what I wanted. This is what I want to talk to you about. Okay, we're pretty much halfway or a little more than halfway through the college football season, and we've seen which teams can play, which teams can't play. And so what I did was I took a list. I took a look at the top 6 teams. All right, and that is Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State, and Michigan. Those are the top 6 teams right now. Ugh. And I know some of it. Sorry,
I'm a Notre Dame fan. When I hear Michigan, I gag. It's an automatic reflex.
But the interesting thing here is I want to talk about who's going to make the playoff. That's really what I wanted to talk about. And I kind of wanted to go team by team and just kind of think about what they have. I mean, when you look at a team, the number 1 team, UGA, let's be honest, right now, I think they are head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, they're just playing that much better than everybody.
When you look at Georgia, you have to understand that they have such a high probability to make the playoffs, not because they're unbeatable. They're Georgia. Let's face it. They'll find a way to lose a game. There's a good chance they will, but they have to lose twice not to make the playoff. So when you're looking at Georgia, if you're ever looking at the best SEC team, understand that if this is 0 in the loss column, it needs to have a 2 before they're eliminated.
That's true.
So they're in almost definitely, unless something colossal collapse, because they would have to lose twice, and I don't think that's happening. Well, so Georgia's almost a lock for me.
Well, look, to me, I'm looking at their remaining schedule. I mean, they're playing Florida, Missouri, Tennessee. They're playing Cupcake University, and then they're playing Georgia Tech. Yeah. So you're talking about 5 very, very winnable games, and none of them are even ranked. So I don't see that being a problem.
Their toughest game will probably still be Florida because, Florida's fallen apart, but they can play them tough. It's a rival game.
Yeah. So
they get that game, they're not losing again for sure.
No, I don't think they're going to lose. I think they're going into the SEC championship undefeated. Then we've got number 2, which is a biggest surprise team. And let me tell you something, their remaining games are a joke, are really a joke. I mean, they've got Navy, Tulane, and Tulsa. Then they've got University of Southern Florida. Then they do play number 21 SMU, who's a decent team, and then they play Eastern Carolina. So I think they've got the easiest route to the playoff. And the interesting thing is, and I'd like to see them in the playoff because I'd like to see if they truly are any good.
Here's what I will say about Cincinnati. I did get to watch them play Notre Dame, and it is by far not a vintage Notre Dame team. Yeah. Not even close. They still play 3 different quarterbacks. I mean, they haven't even settled on a quarterback halfway through the season. Their offensive line's not good. Cincinnati was not overly impressive to me in that game. Notre Dame was down by 4 and like 5 minutes to go and didn't play well. Lost the turnover 3-0. So, I mean, Cincinnati's not that good. But if they ever was a year, a non-Power 5 school is going to make a non-Power school from the Power 5 conference is going to make it, it has to be Cincinnati this year. It has to be. I'm like begging, don't leave them out with like the last minute, I'm going to jump 3 teams ahead of them. Yeah. Because if you've now listen, when the rankings come out, they will not be number 2. And what I mean by that is when the playoff committee sets their first rankings, Cincinnati will be like 4 or 5. Yeah. They're going to already hedge on wanting to put them in and be looking for excuses not to. Yeah. And you're going to hear their schedule wasn't good, and it's not. But they do have a win at Notre Dame. And Cincinnati's best way to solidify making the playoff, because nobody wants them in it, let's face it, their best way is Notre Dame to run the table and be 8th or 9th at the end. That's like their best thing that could happen. If Notre Dame loses a game or 2 more, watch, they're going to not be allowed in because they don't want them in. So Notre Dame is going to actually decide Cincinnati's fate if they win out, believe it or not. So I know you hate Notre Dame, but if you want Cincinnati in the playoff, you probably need Notre Dame to go 11-1.
You know what? I still think that it's going to be really tough to keep them out of the playoff if they're undefeated. You know, if they end the season at 12-0,
well, it's going to be tough. Scenario. It's going to be tough. Simplest scenario is 1 loss Alabama and 1 loss Georgia. If that happens, right? Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC title game. Cincinnati's not getting in over either one of those teams. So all you got to do is put 1 Big Ten champion in and either the Big 12 or Pac-12 champion in, and they're left out. It's easily going to happen. It's possible, is what I mean.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. But then we've got number 3, which is Oklahoma, which I mean, I don't even know. You know, the funny thing about Oklahoma is they have Spencer Rattler as their quarterback, and he's supposed to be potentially even the number 1 pick in the draft. And did you even see that he got benched last game? They brought in their backup, and he won the game for him.
That conference and Oklahoma's defense in particular is like a fat guy with mustard stains on his face. It's gross. It's just gross. You don't want to look at it. But you can't help but look away. Like you can't help but look. But like Oklahoma's defense so nauseates me. They always give up 40 points to everyone. At least. People always apologize for Oklahoma. They always act like it's okay. And then they get curb stomped in every playoff. And people act surprised that it's going to happen. Like, I really can't with Oklahoma. I really can't. But they'll be in the playoff if they go undefeated. Thanks to Texas blowing a 75-point lead against them the other day.
You know, the challenge with them is their remaining schedule is not easy. It's really not easy. I mean, well, listen, they play Kansas, which the spread on that game is probably going to be 40 points. Then they play Texas Tech, but then they have to go and they have to travel to number 20 Baylor, which could be a good game. Then Iowa State, and then they actually finish up the season at number 8 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State rivalry at the end that could keep them out of the playoff. So they don't have an easy way to get there, as opposed to Alabama, who's got Tennessee, LSU, New Mexico State, the great New Mexico State, Arkansas, and then at number 19, Alabama, huge in-state rivalry.
Auburn, you mean? Auburn, yeah.
Yeah, Auburn. Yeah.
I mean, Alabama it comes down. I mean, now Alabama has no margin for error during the regular season. They can't lose another game.
That's true.
That's true. You're basically almost can lock in a Georgia Alabama SEC title game, and an
no
SEC conference is rooting for obviously Alabama to beat Georgia because then they probably get them both in. Georgia could finish off Alabama's title hopes in that game, but you got to believe Alabama's probably showing up into the SEC title game 11-1.
Yep.
And you're going to hear the narrative that if Alabama wins, they're both in the playoff. So that's just, you could just lock it in. That's going to be the conversation. It's going to be those two teams in the playoff in basically like a rematch. I mean,
So then it's interesting because at 5, 6, and 7, you've got Ohio State, you've got Michigan, and you've got Penn State.
So that all works itself out. They're all playing each other.
They're all playing each other, and that's the interesting thing, and that's what I love. Like Ohio State is not the typical Ohio State teams of the past.
Nope.
They've got Indiana, then they play number 7 Penn State, then they play Nebraska, then they play number 25 Purdue coming off that big win. Then they play number 9 Michigan State. Then they finish up the season at their nemesis, Michigan. So they have a really, really tough road ahead of them to get to the playoffs. So that's going to be tough for them. And then you look at Michigan. Michigan's got almost the identical thing, right? They've got Northwestern. Then they play at number 9 Michigan State. Then Indiana, which is probably a guaranteed win. Then they play at number 7 Penn State. They play Maryland, and then they finish off the season at home against Ohio State. I mean, the question is, can these guys all even make it through this horrendous stretch that they have coming up?
Well, it is what's interesting is 5, 6, and 7 all control their own fate to make the playoff.
They really do.
If somebody can navigate it, they're in the playoff.
Yeah.
The Big Ten will get a team in this playoff because they've had so many high-ranked teams.
Yeah.
So if one can actually navigate undefeated, or Ohio State can run the table with their one loss, they're gonna make the playoff. Now the bad part, and this is like a 2-second side rant, I hate the breakout of the divisions in conference because, again, it works itself out where it's all loaded on one side of the division. And so now instead of a great rematch potentially of two highly ranked teams like Penn State and Ohio State or Michigan and Ohio State or whatever, all of them are going to get locked out but one. And they're going to show up to play the crappy West, what's the best team in the West? Is Iowa in the West even? I guess Iowa would be the best team who just lost by 17 to Purdue. If Iowa runs the table, but like they don't need, just put the two best teams against each other in the conference championship. That's my side rant. I don't like any of these conferences that do that because inevitably it seems like one division's better than the other. But if I will say this, I hate to say this, if there was ever a chance for Michigan to make the playoff and to avenge years of losses to Ohio State and to cement Harbaugh being there long-term, if he can't beat Ohio State this year and can't get Michigan into the playoff this year, I don't think it's ever happening. Ohio State is highly vulnerable. They're nowhere near the team they've been. They've survived a couple games. They let Oregon come in there and win. People praised Oregon. Oregon's lost since then and played nothing but mediocre football since then. They're not that good. It shows you Ohio State's just not that good. This is Michigan's year. This really should be their year to make the playoff, or certainly at least beat Ohio State and avenge break that streak, that miserable streak they've had.
Well, I'm gonna throw out a prediction in there. I'm gonna say that UGA, Bama, and Cincinnati are three teams that I think, based on their schedules, that are going to make it to the playoff.
So you're saying Bama's going to beat Georgia in the SEC title game? Then?
I don't think it's going to matter either way because I think everybody behind them is going to beat each other up. This is my prediction, right? I think that you've got Ohio State, you've got Michigan, you've got Penn State at 7, you've got Michigan State there, you've got Iowa, you've got all those teams, those big teams that are the Big Ten teams that are bunched up. I think they're all going to beat each other. And what I think is going to happen is I think the number 8 team in the country, Oklahoma State, who has Iowa State, Kansas, West Virginia, TCU, Texas Tech as their 5 games ahead of them. I think they're going to be 11-0 going into their last game of the season against Oklahoma. And I think that game is going to decide who gets to get that 4th spot. I think Oklahoma State is going to take it while everybody else is losing. They're going to quietly be moving up. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma. They're going to take that 4th spot.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
I think Oklahoma State will lose this week, and they're not that good at all. But
to Iowa State?
Yeah, Oklahoma State's not that good. I don't like that conference period.
The conference is terrible.
I think at the end of the day, this is just setting up, just knowing how the committee works. I do think Georgia and Alabama will both be in the playoff, but I don't think it won't matter. Alabama will have to beat Georgia. They can't put Alabama in with 2 losses. They don't really want to do that. If you're not a conference winner and you have 2 losses, that's never been allowed in the playoff. I don't think they want to do that. But I do think Alabama will beat Georgia, and they will get in. So I'm going to agree with you for different reasons. I think Georgia and Alabama are in. I think Cincinnati by default is going to get in this year because it's just they're going to say, let's throw a bone to the non-Power 5 conference, and they deserve it anyway. So it's like it's like doing the right thing. And then if I'm throwing a dart up against it, against the board, the 4th team, just because I can't stand Oklahoma, and I feel like they will lose a game and they're nauseating, I'm going to actually say Penn State makes it. I'm going to throw – Penn State's actually played a pretty tough schedule. They have a loss, but they control their own fate because they're going to play all those teams anyway. So I'm going to throw it out there right here just to be a little different and a little contrarian and say Penn State somehow gets through it and goes to the playoff. So I'll go Penn State, Cincinnati, Georgia, Alabama.
Nice. Well,
I don't love it, but I'm trying to be a little different.
Listen, it's ugly. It's ugly. There's a lot of teams that are kind of falling into the middle of the pack, which I think makes it really, really difficult. But we'll see. It's been a good season so far, and hopefully it continues. That's all that I want to do. Let's switch gears. Let's talk a little baseball because it's exciting. It's really exciting. You know, the Red Sox got off to that hot start, and the Astros are up 3-2. And Atlanta was up 3-1. The Dodgers crushed them last night. So now they're up 3-2. So you got 2 game 6s. Now tonight's game 6 is Astros and Red Sox. You've got Eovaldi versus Luis Garcia. Garcia's postseason has been he started 2 games. He's pitched 3.2 innings and he's allowed 10 runs.
He's an opener, right? He's more like an opener.
And we'll see what happens. And then Eovaldi, he started 3 games, 16 innings. He's also allowed 10 earned runs, but he has 21 strikeouts. And he did win game 2, pitching 5.1 innings. So what do you think? What are you thinking? This game is I think it's in Houston, actually.
It's in Houston, yeah. Both teams that are up 3-2 are back home to close it out. They're both in great spots to close it out. Houston's offense is just so good. They just are. You know, the Red Sox to me have been on borrowed time. I look like a fool. I remember telling everybody I've spoke to, I don't see the Red Sox as that good of a team as they kept winning during the regular season because they miss all the things that you usually like to say make a team good. They don't have a good bullpen. They don't have a good rotation. I mean, there's nothing to inherently love about the Red Sox. And by the way, not long ago, they got swept at home to the Yankees at the end of September and almost missed the playoffs.
That's right.
So they snuck in. They beat the Yankees in the wild card game, got hot. It happens.
Yeah.
Whether it's today or tomorrow, I can't see Boston winning 2 in Houston. I think Houston's going to the playoffs. And Houston has a chip on their shoulder. Remember, this is a team that was told they only won because they cheated. Yep. But this is a Houston team that's been really good for a while.
Yeah, they have been.
And they don't have a great rotation themselves, but they've been really good for a while. And they just fit beating the Red Sox like a glove because they beat bad pitching up. And the Red Sox fit that bill. They don't have very good pitching. And you're going to eventually find someone in that bullpen because they ask these guys to go 6-7 innings out of the pen almost every game. They never keep a starter in. You're just asking for trouble. And Houston's got too much offense.
Yeah.
In the Atlanta Dodgers series, I mean, I couldn't be more wrong. Atlanta is not a team. Let's face it. I know you're in lovely Alvaretta. You're kind of like they're like your secondary team now, right? I'm sure a lot of our audience is from there, thanks to your huge Facebook and Instagram following. So we're speaking to the native Georgians a little bit. If that's even a word. The Braves usually suck in the playoffs. That's just bluntly the truth. They're a great regular season team that's got a miserable track record. They've won one championship in all that time of winning division after division.
Yeah.
They're just the team that doesn't usually do well in the playoffs. Now, they played the Dodgers a fantastic series last year to get to the World Series. They lost in 7. They took the Dodgers to the wire. So they've shown an additional level of being able to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm going to be one of these people this time. Until I see the Dodgers dead, I don't believe it. I know it's possible. I just watched the Braves beat them 2 out of 3 in LA, and they're up 3-2 going back home for 2. They're the favorites right now. They have to be. But until the Dodgers are dead, they're not dead.
Yep.
I know I'm teasing it like I'm going to say the Dodgers are going to come back. The Braves are going to go to the World Series. The Braves are going to go to the World Series, and I'll give you 2 reasons. No Max Muncy, and Justin Turner's hurt. And he's out for the playoffs. That's a lot of clutch hits missing.
That's true.
And I think Freddie Freeman's on a mission. He's playing like the great player he is. My MVP pick that I landed on a couple years ago, he's phenomenal. They're doing it without Acuna Matata, which is amazing. And I think they get to the World Series, and it's a Astro Braves World Series, not MLB's favorite matchup for the old TV ratings.
They were salivating, hoping they were going to get a Red Sox Dodgers series.
Red Sox Dodgers would have been their priority.
But think about it. Think about how that's going to feel for the Braves. I mean, knowing that Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta. I mean, I have a feeling they've got a huge chip on their shoulder, and I think that if they get to the World Series, that there's a legitimate chance that they win the World Series, just because I think that is just motivating them like there's no tomorrow.
You think so?
I do. And I've a lot of people down here were really, really bothered by that.
That I believe the fan base is super bothered.
But listen, we'll see, because I mean, if you think about it, right, you've got, I mean, this is the most important game of their season. You've got Max Scherzer, the Hall of Fame pitcher. There's no doubt in my mind he's a Hall of Famer, going up against the great Ian Anderson, who just finished his rookie season. So I don't know, man.
Here's the thing.
I don't know.
The Dodgers have to be. I haven't looked. The Dodgers have to be the favorite in this game because pitching dictates who's favorite. In games.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
So they have to be. They absolutely have to be the favorite. I gotta believe the Braves find a way to win one of these 2 games. Scherzer hasn't been great in the playoffs, and the Dodgers bullpen is on borrowed time. I mean, it's really taxed because they've been asking. They haven't gotten any length out of any starter. So they've been really, pushing the envelope with various bullpen arms, and the Braves have been lighting most of them up. It's going to be fun. It feels like we're headed to 2 Game 7s, though. Just feels like it, because Major League Baseball usually gives you, the playoffs usually give you a couple of huge moments and a couple of like fun Game 7s, and we really haven't had a lot of it yet. I feel like we got a shot to see 2 Game 7s, but both home teams winning them. But I think we got a shot to see 2 Game 7s, which would be fun.
I'd like to. That's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for, is just to watch some good baseball. So I look forward to watching that. I got a couple quick hits that I want to throw at you. First off, I know you're really excited. The hockey season has started. Is there anything you want to say about that? All right, next topic. Congratulations to the WNBA champions. The Chicago Sky beat the team with future Hall of Famers Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner. They play for the Phoenix. What the heck is it? Phoenix. I don't know. Phoenix something. I can't remember what the name is.
Sun-Kissed. Yeah.
The Phoenix somethings. They also have a future Hall of Famer on their team by the name of Candace Parker, and their finals MVP was somebody named Kalia Copper, who I've actually never heard of before. But the thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly was viewership of the WNBA playoffs was up 51% over 2020. And as a matter of fact, Game 2 had over 1 million viewers, which is just huge numbers for them. Their jersey sales were also up 50% this year. And so my question to you is this, with basically The NBA is the exact opposite. They're down like 50%, whereas the WNBA is up 50%. Is there a reason that the WNBA is gaining popularity and the NBA is kind of losing their appeal?
I don't want to be a negative Nelly here on this one. My hunch would be the WNBA is coming off all-time low ratings during the pandemic. That's my hunch. And so I would like to more see what their numbers are off of like the previous few years than last year, because I didn't even know there was a WNBA season during COVID the first time. I'm going to guess their ratings were like garbage low, and so they're up off that.
I want to say their attendance was the highest since, I want to say, 2007 maybe.
Okay, cool. I mean, listen,
they've been around for 25 years, you know.
You would like to think attendance would be up across all sports because people didn't get a chance to go to sporting events basically in 2020. So you'd like to think people are really excited to go in person. Now, MLB, by the way, attendance was really low, but they also had a lot of restrictions the first 80 games of everybody's season. So you can't go off this year. You got to really go off 2023 when they're back fully. I mean, 2022. The WNBA is so unpopular that the defending or the winners, the Chicago whatevers, they had like 15 people at their parade. I don't know if you saw a video of that. So the WNBA is really unpopular, but it is what it is. I mean,
yes, but you know, I kind of look at it like this, right? It's like comparing the minor leagues to the major leagues. You know, you're going to go to a WNBA game because it's a way that you can watch basketball, and it's actually affordable.
Is it affordable? I don't even know.
Is it? The NBA is, WNBA is. You can actually go and you know, for a reasonable price. NBA, I mean, if it's a family of four, I mean, what are you spending with food and tickets and everything? And $400 or $500. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, you know, to me, that's why that's popular. And it is some good basketball. I mean, they do have some good players that play.
I'll take your word for it.
You know, yeah. I mean,
our viewers will take your word for it too. I won't be watching, but I'll take your word for it.
I've never been to a WNBA game, but I'm thinking maybe next year maybe I'll take the girls to it.
That's fun.
You know, they enjoy going to the professional men's over 40 basketball league in Alpharetta. So maybe they would enjoy some women that can actually play basketball. So that might be fun.
I'm biased against certain sports. I don't really like hockey. I don't really like golf. I don't really like WNBA basketball. I'm an equal opportunity.
You're equal opportunity. You like your few sports, and then you just don't care about anything.
I don't
else.
like soccer, football, as they call it.
You don't like football?
I don't like that either. Yeah.
What about badminton or ping pong? You know,
cricket. I might get into one day. You know,
cricket. Okay.
I like the luge. I mix it in.
Well, actually, skeleton is pretty good.
And I like bobsledding, especially if it's the Jamaican
you're going down
team.
head first. I mean, that's pretty scary.
You know, it's cool.
All right, let's finish up with a couple quick basketball things, because we really need to have a basketball episode where we talk about the season. Sure. But I wanted to just ask your opinion, okay? And who would you want on your team? Do you want the Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook with Carmelo Anthony coming off the bench? Or
that sounds like a great team from 2014. Go ahead.
I know. Or would you want Durant, Harden, Irving with Blake Griffin coming off the bench?
Well, I mean, is that even a fair comparison? Because Irvin doesn't have the vax. Irvin can't play.
Well, assuming that he does ever come back.
You know what would be cool? I think Durant should show up there in the middle of the night, jab him, and say, "Up, now you got to play."
I know, right? Just
all right. If I take the vax out of the equation and just compare them, I'm taking the Nets all day. That's not even close. Yeah. They're so much younger proportionately. And I don't trust Westbrook working out. He's such a ball first guy. I don't know how they even fits with LeBron. They both have to have the ball.
It makes no sense, right?
I don't know how that works. And Westbrook's not good enough. He's not a good enough shooter.
No.
Even if he totally is fine playing off the ball. That's like his weakness, though. He's not a shooter. So if he plays off the ball, what is he going to do? I don't know. I don't see how that works.
You know, the Lakers are trying to keep LeBron happy by bringing on all these guys. In game one, I mean, Davis had like 34, LeBron had like 33, and then Westbrook had like 8 points. He actually played terrible.
I got to give them 40 games together before I can even assess how it works.
There's no doubt.
on the surface, it doesn't feel like it works well. So
no. And you know me, man, I am like the biggest opposite of a LeBron James fan.
Yes.
So
I'm aware.
So me seeing the Lakers not good puts a big smile on my face. I like that.
I hate the Lakers and don't hate LeBron at all. So I'm always in a conundrum now that he's on that team. I hate that he went there. That annoys me.
All right. Here's another question I got for you. So Zion Williamson, he's not playing right now. I think he's still getting over a surgery that he had. Rumor has it he's ballooned over 300 pounds. So here's the question. All right, okay. This guy obviously has trouble controlling his food intake. So he kind of reminds me he's kind of like the Phil Calise of this podcast. Here's the question. Okay. This guy, it seems to me like it's pretty obvious if he doesn't clean up his act, he's going to eat himself out of the game, because there's no way his 6'6" frame can handle the rigors of an 82 game season with 300 pounds on him. I mean, even at 275, 280, it's too much. And we talked about this before.
Yeah, that's why I thought he might not work out.
I mean, this guy, are you and I on agreement that this guy is not going to have a long career just because the injuries are going to pile up? He's going to have the knees are going to go, or the back, or whatever, you know?
Well, he's already had some injuries and he's young.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's had a lot of them, actually, even dating back to Duke for his 1 year stint.
Yeah.
My knock on the guy, I've been wrong on him so far. So to be fair, I didn't think he had a good enough jumper to play at 6'6" in the NBA. Yeah. I thought the weight was too much. Now, all that may end up being true. He definitely exceeded my expectations in his rookie year. He was phenomenal, and all the best parts of him were great, and he did good enough in all the weakness areas to be fine. But you can't play in the NBA 82 games at the weight he's carrying.
There's no way.
And if he's even heavier because he broke his foot and he couldn't work out, and so now he naturally, obviously, he's the kind of guy that's going to need to really work on his diet. And if he gets hurt, he's going to gain weight. He looks like he's probably predispositioned to be a guy who's overweight, but it's not great when you're 24 overweight, 25, 22. What is he? 20, right? 20, 21, whatever he is.
19 or 20.
I mean, it's not great when you're struggling with weight at that age.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's rumors they're going to trade him.
Oh, come on. He's so skilled. He is such a phenomenal player. But the weight is gonna take him down. He needs to play. I mean, he's a big guy. He needs to play, I don't know, 250 max.
In this day and age, with the nutrition available, with the education around nutrition available, and with every resource at his disposal, it would be an absolute shame if he wasted his talent because he was too heavy. Because they could put him on any diet and monitor everything he does, and he could be 255 over any off season, ready to go and be dominant. It's on him. This is completely on him. This is on nobody else. So
I agree. So we'll see what happens. And then I'm going to talk about my last topic, which is the one basketball family that I hate more than anybody. And I know you know who this is.
The Balls?
The Balls.
Big balls, little balls, all the balls.
Friggin' littlest ball, man. You know what? Let me tell you something. I can't stand the Balls. You know I can't stand the Balls. I can't stand the father. I can't stand any of the sons, but damn it. The littlest ball is a freaking baller. And I hate that. His first game of the season, man, this is a family that's not known to be shooters. 7 for 9 from 3-point, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 31 points. All right. Am I just way off? Is this guy really a stud, or is it just going to be a flash in just kind of quick?
I think that the thought was always that their youngest one was by far had the highest ceiling, right? I don't remember. I get the names confused. The one with the weird release jump shot.
It's
That's
Daddy
the oldest
Ball.
one.
It's Daddy Ball. It's Big Ball. It's medium ball. Nobody knows him.
It's bulky ball, right? He's the heaviest one, and then there's little ball. But
medium ball, nobody knows.
The oldest ball, brother, he's got the jacked up release jump shot, right? He's always had that funky release. He's a nice little sixth man type of player. He could pass. He could do a little bit of everything. He doesn't play great defense, but he's tall. He could get rebounds. He's going to play in the NBA for a decade or more and be a solid player. This kid has the highest ceiling, and he's come in and had more contribution than the older brother since day one. I mean, yeah, he looks like he's going to be a good ball player. He's got a clean jump shot. I don't know why the older brother didn't learn the jump shot he has in terms of his release and everything. It's much more clean. He's also the same body shape, same everything as the older brother. They're built exactly the same. He looks like a better version of his older brother. So
that's what it.
And his older brother's going to be a 10-year NBA player. There's no. You don't like the family. I kind of think the dad did a heck of a job. He put 2 kids in the NBA. I mean, it's kind of hard to down the guy. He's got a big mouth, and he's like an unfunny Charles Barkley. Like, he's big and gregarious, but Barkley's great, and he's not. So it's
everybody loves Barkley, and everybody hates this guy.
LeVar Ball's terrible.
He is. But you know what? Even Lonzo, Big Ball. Sorry. I mean, he was 5 of 12, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 12 points. He's starting for the Bulls. But you know what? I'll give you one thing. He had a plus 17 in that game.
I'm just saying,
which is impressive, right?
The guy's going to have a 10, 12, 13-year career and be a nice, serviceable player. I'll say this. The dad's got the big mouth, but the kids just seem like they play. I don't think any of them
really hear much about it. And not only that, I haven't heard much from the dad recently anyway. I mean, wait till – well, you know, the middle ball actually made the G League team for Charlotte. So what happens if he actually gets called? Could you imagine if Charlotte plays Chicago and they bring up the medium ball?
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to take a step back. He's got a big mouth. He had a big personality. He was trying to brand that stupid big baller brand, and it failed, obviously. But he's produced 2 sons that are in the NBA. One might be great. One's going to be a 10-year vet who's serviceable and solid. And then the middle one's like maybe gets a cup of coffee in the NBA. You could be doing a lot worse than Mr. LeVar Ball and what he's been able to do. So
it's true. And nothing makes me more miserable to hear that, because, you know, I'm not between the balls and the LeBron James, man, I'm just a miserable.
You're going to hate it when they make a movie together, a Lifetime movie, LeBron and the balls.
The funny thing is that, you know, I went to dinner with a friend of mine last night who's on my basketball team, and he's a huge Bulls fan, and he is super excited that Lonzo Ball is on the team. So we're going to have to bring him on here so he can explain himself, because he might be the only one besides the Ball's parents, besides LeVar. But we'll see. That's all I got, man. I got nothing else.
Good podcast as always, my friend.
I got nothing else, man. That was fun. That was episode 7 in the books, and hope everybody's enjoying it. And keep listening. Tell all your friends. Let's grow this thing. Let's have a good time. And you know, working on having some more special guests. I'm still on a high from the Andy McGaffigan interview. I thought it was just so much fun, and he even told me that he'd like to come back, and that would be great, because I know that there's a lot of other things that we can talk about, and I think get his perspective on what the game is like today. I think would really be interesting. So we'll see what happens. But hope everybody has a great weekend. Hope you win some of the games with Phil's picks, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week. So so long. Take care.